Today we're going to learn to read tabs. Let's jump right in.
So let's start with a fairly simple example. This is an excerpt from Hallelujah, as made famous by Jeff Buckley. First thing to take into account is what tuning you're in. In this case, we are in standard tuning, and we need to have our capo on the 5th fret. So I got my capo on the 5th fret. All of the horizontal lines moving left to right across the page, those represent your strings. The bottom line is your low E, or your 6th string. That is the thickest string on your guitar. The top line is your 1st string, or your high E, and that is the thinnest string on your guitar. If you need to remember all the other note names, just remember the phrase, Eddie ate dynamite, goodbye Eddie. That's the phrase that I learned growing up, and it has stuck with me, let me tell you. So all the numbers represent frets. So in this case, this 3 would be on the 6th string, right, because it's on that bottom line, 3rd fret. So that would be found right here, and I would use your middle finger in this particular example to grab that note. Also, an important note, all of the numbers are in relation to where your capo is. That's a very important thing to take into account. So there's your 6th string, 3rd fret. Next, we got this 5th string, 2nd fret. I would use your 1st finger to grab that note. Then we've got the 4th string open. So those first 3 notes we got right here. And I would use your thumb and your picking hand to get all 3 of those notes. Next, we got these 2 numbers stacked on top of each other. If you ever see that, they are to be played at the same time. So we got the 3rd string open and then the 2nd string, 3rd fret. I would use your index, I'm a little out of tune, sorry about that. I would use your index and your middle finger to grab those 2 notes. There we go, that sounds better. Then we got another 4th string open and then the 6th string, 2nd fret. So here's your 4th string open. And then, sorry for that buzz, then we got the 6th string, 2nd fret. So all 6 of those beats played together would sound like this. 4, 5, 6. Right, that's starting to sound like the song. Then let's move on to measure 2. The only difference in measure 2 and measure 1 is this very first beat. Instead of playing the 3rd fret of the 6th string, we're going to be playing that note open. Then all 5 beats are the exact same as the first measure as well. So let's go ahead and glue these 2 measures together. What we get is this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then measures 3 and 4 on the screen are the exact same thing as measures 1 and 2. So there's you a good, simple introductory to reading tabs, and we'll move on to something more complex next. Before we get to the next song example, we need to talk about bends. So on the screen, I've got a whole bunch of examples of bends. This first beat is a full step bend. Then we got a half step, and this guy is a quarter step. Then we got a big boy. This is a step and a half, so that's a big bend. Let's go back to beat 1. A full step is the distance of 2 frets on the guitar. So that number 7 there would be on the 3rd string, 7th fret. Here we are on that note. I would use your 3rd finger for this example. And then a full step above that is the pitch that we're bending up to. So 2 frets above that would be 1, 2. There's your full step. And we're going to bend up to that pitch from the 7th fret. Just like that. So that is your full step bend. Next is a half step bend, right? And that's the distance of 1 fret. So here's the 3rd string, 7th fret. We're bending up to this note. So the distance is half as long, or half as far away, I should say, as that full step. Then we got a quarter step bend. This is somewhere in between your starting point and that half step bend. So it would probably be somewhere right in there. Up. It's somewhere right in between there. You kind of just have to trust your ear there. Next, we got a big boy. This one is a step and a half. So it's a full step plus another half. So that's the distance of 3 frets. So if this is your starting point, we need to bend up to this pitch. So that's pretty high. It's pretty far away, but that would be a step and a half. Now let's look at these other examples. If you ever see a scoop up and then down right after it, that's called a bend and release. So this example, we need to start on the same fret we've been using on all these examples. 7th fret of the 3rd string, we're going to bend that up a full step and then come right back down to where we started. So 7th fret, 3rd string, we're going to bend it up to this pitch. There's your full step, and then come right back down to where we started. So it sounds like this. Just like that. Then we got a half step bend and release. So that would be those. That's the distance there. Again, the half step is just 1 fret, right? So there's those 2 examples. Then this last example here, this is called a pre-bend release. If you ever see an arrow shooting straight up in the air, that note is bent up to a full step before, in this example it's a full step, before you even pluck the note, and then you'll release it right off of it. So we need to bend up to the pitch 2 frets above where we're going to be bending from. But this is kind of a muscle memory thing because you can't pluck the note and bend up to it. That would be a bend and release. We got to bend up and come off it. So we're plucking the note after it's being bent. And then we're coming down off it. If you wanted to do a half step pre-bent and release, it would be that. Full step, half step, just like that. So there are a bunch of examples of bends. Now let's jump into Hotel California as our example that we're going to use. The next song example we're going to talk about is the beginning of the Hotel California solo. This has got bends, but it's also got slides, hammer-ons, and pull-offs as well. So all sorts of good notations to check out. Actually, let me start by playing this a little bit. Goes on from there. That last measure was a little better. So let's check it out. We're going to start with the 11th fret of the 3rd string. This symbol right before it, this little line here, that represents a slide. And seeing as how there's no number that comes before that slide, we can start from wherever we want below the 11th fret and slide right up into it. So I'm starting somewhere between the 5th and 7th fret to get up there to the 11th fret. Let's look at the next 2 notes. We got the 10th and the 12th fret of the 2nd string. This little H in between it represents hammer on. We're going to be hammering on the 12th fret from the 10th. So it would sound like this. Just like that. Just like that. So those first 3 notes so far, that's what we got so far. Next, you'll see this 12 in the next measure, and it's connected via a tie. This curved line is a tie to the 12 that we just hammered onto. So that simply means that this 12 carries over into this beat, so we don't need to necessarily play it again before we do this step and a half bend. That's a big boy. So here's the 12th fret that we just did the hammer on to. Then we're going to bend a step and a half above that, which is the distance of 3 frets, right? 1, 2, 3. So there's the pitch we're bending to. So we got, that's what we got so far. Next we got 10 and 12 on the 2nd string. We just did that over here. So there's just no hammer on between these 2. So we're just going to pluck both of those notes individually. Then we got the 9th fret of the 3rd string. So we got, and we're plucking all those notes. Sorry, you can't see my picking hand. Just like that. Then let's talk about these next 4 notes. We've got a hammer-on from 7 to 9 on the 3rd string. Just like that. Then we've got 7 and 7 on the 2nd and 3rd string, respectively. Just like that. So there's those 4 notes. Now, moving on, 8th fret of the 4th string. I use my middle finger. That's probably the best finger to use in that situation, seeing as how from where we just came from. Next, we got a little trill here, 9, 12, 9. We're going to hammer on between 9 and 12, and then we're going to P for pull off. We're going to pull off right back to where we started. So that would sound like this, just like that. I'm hammering on my third finger to that 12th fret, and then pulling it right back off, just like that. Then coming down here to the 7th fret, and that's going to carry over into the next beat, and we're going to bend up a half step bend. So again, half step, distance of 1 fret. So that would be the 8th fret, and we're going to bend the 7th fret up to that note. So that measure is just like that. Moving on, you will notice that these first 4 notes we've played before, right here in this measure. So we're good there. 9, 8, 9 on the 4th string. That's easy enough. I'll let you figure that out. Then we got the next 4 notes. Hey, that's the same thing yet again as we've played before. So that's good. Then we got 2 pull-offs, and they're the same thing. 9 down to 7 on the 4th string. Just like that. That's all there is to that. Now let's move on to this next bit. This part's a little bit tough. We're going to bend the 10th fret of the 2nd string up a full step. Then with our pinky, we're going to grab this 10th fret of the 1st string. So we got just like that. Then we've got an example of a pre-bent note that we're releasing down to where we started from. So we just did this, right? Now we're going to pluck that pre-bent note and release it down to where we started from on the 10th fret of that 2nd string. Moving on, we got 7, 10, 8, right? And then that 8 carries over into the next beat. We're going to bend it up a half step. So that 7, 10, 8 with the bend sounds that whole last measure. Just like that. So as you can see, this song's got it all. Slides, hammer-ons, pull-offs, all sorts of different types of bends. So I think between this song and the Jeff Buckley tune, you're off to a good start in understanding tabs. I've gone ahead and put these 2 tabs in the description below, so don't miss out on that. It's free. And please like and subscribe to my channel on your way out, and I'll see you in the next video.